There's this thing that I discovered when I read about neuroscience, especially neurobiology, and I came across this neuroplasticity, which I've really read and want to understand. And I've realized that the anatomy of our brain can really change based on the things that we are exposed to. Our brain is elastic. It usually takes up what you feed with, and it takes from the environment. That is why we have what we call epigenetic modification or epigenetic. That means outside the genes there are some of the things which influence and create pathways in our brain. Now, the brain usually have certain pathways, which in this way I can say it's like an highway. It creates the routes where communications passes through. When a child is born, most of the parts in the brain are not yet developed, and they develop when they are growing up, and that is why the environment of the child is very important when this child is growing. Now, there is something that we usually get very wrong, and especially when we are in relationships. In relationships, we usually forget that the person that we are with was raised from a different environment than you. And especially for those who are dating cross culture, you have to identify and you have to understand the culture of the other person so that you may be able to know how to deal with the person, because they have already created pathways which you may not change it. Now, the neuroplasticity is a way of helping a person create different pathways, but it usually takes time. Now, understanding the other person, that means if you want to get it right always, know where a person is coming from. A man raised by a single mother and a man raised from an hostile and family background, and a man raised from a complete family where the mother and the father had no issues. These people will portray different characters in the marriage environment because their brain is modified based on what they were exposed to. The same case with the ladies. When they are growing up, there are things which are seen from the environment, and their brain have already created pathways on the same. So let me tell you and give you a hint, guys. You know, we go to school to become a nurse. We go to school and spend years to become an engineer. We go to school to become a teacher. But sometimes we fail to learn the basics about the things which really matters, especially for relationships. It is very easy to fall in love, but now staying in love is a problem. Why? Because there is an interplay between the genetics and epigenetic, which is an issue which is brought about by our culturalization and many other things which play a part. In other subsequent videos, I'll be helping you to understand the biology of love, because they are hormones, and the hormones are secreted differently in male and female. And we appreciate how God has really created us. We have the love hormone, which which is called oxytocin. You can Google love hormone. It's oxytocin. We usually have other neurotransmitters like epinephrine, which usually make men become so frightened when they see their crush, and you feel your pressure is really pumping very hard. We have cortisol hormone. We have serotonin, which is another stress hormone, and cortisol stress gives you stress. And we have this guy called dopamine, which is usually called the pleasure hormone. This pleasure hormone usually secreted when people have sex, and that is the pleasure that they have. And that is the reason why people become very addicted to sex, is because of the surge of this dopamine hormone. The same dopamine hormone is usually secreted again when people have bang or cocaine or any other addictive, because this pleasure, it gives you the pleasure feeling. So we're going to see in other videos, and you can also Google and understand, so that when you are falling in love and doing all this, you know how it comes. You will also be able to appreciate and to learn about the things which you people have so much spiritualized. The thing called the soul tie. Soul tie is just a play and neuronal pathways in our brain, that if you read about the neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and the play about hormones and neurotransmitters, you will be able to understand that the soul tie that you usually call is just a complex pathways of these neurotransmitters and hormones. Stay informed.